it is a miracle being able to give birth and have children and be pregnant. And when you actually consider all the things that could go wrong, it's a miracle that anyone is born. And it made me really appreciate the NHS. Before I had children, I couldn't stand being in a hospital environment. Now I'm really grateful, and I actually enjoy being in that environment in a positive way, and I want to give back. So yeah, I suppose it impacted me that way.
Yeah.
I think it actually impacted me more in the sense that I found it so traumatic to see someone you love so much go through so much pain. And particularly with Caleb, our fourth child, Diane had a cesarean section and lost 2.8 litres of blood, which is a huge amount of blood to lose. And so was in the high dependency unit. And I thought I was going to lose her, you know, and it came at a point where everything was going wrong in our lives anyway. And I remember in one of my books, Diane wrote a chapter called Secondhand Smoke, how secondhand smoke can still kill you. And so sometimes I think in a marriage relationship, it's actually when your partner, your spouse is going through something, it affects you so much because it's out of your control. I couldn't do anything for her at that moment. And I think equally, when I had major surgery on my legs and really started struggling with mental health, I would get a lot of the attention, but it was Diane who was struggling. You know, and yet sometimes we don't appreciate that. I think it always goes to the person that's going through the thing, whereas the person most close to them is going, oh my goodness, I can't fix it for them, I can't control the outcome, I just have to be there. And that's a real skill, and that's really tough to do.
Yeah, really interesting observation. So Diane, for you, when Patrick was going through that dark patch and he was really struggling with his mental health, how was that for you?
A very lonely time, actually, because we didn't know what these words were, let alone understand how to deal with them. And it was a real learning experience. We would go and try and get some prayer, get some help, go to church, but we didn't even know what to ask for, how we needed help. I'm very much I was quite independent in those days. I've learned more to depend more on other people, but so going somewhere for help was a sign of weakness for me. So I was trying to be the strong one for Patrick. I was trying to be, as we say, going on Google, finding out the answers. I didn't know what all the questions were, let alone be able to find the answers. So when he was having to go for his major surgery, I would go in advance and try to prepare myself. I knew I was going to have to change from being a spouse to a carer, particularly in that point. And so I went online to try and find information because I couldn't find any books. I didn't know where else to go. And all I found, to be honest, Maria, was depressing forums of people really struggling with looking after and caring for people, particularly with mental health issues as well, actually. And everything I feared was there in front of me. They were getting resentful. They were themselves coming down with struggling with mental health issues. They were very lonely. They couldn't go out. They would feel guilty all the time. And so everything I was fearing was there in front of me. And I thought, there's got to be a way through this. And I ended up going to the doctor myself because it's impossible to watch someone you love go through a really difficult time and for it not to impact you. And I was really getting panic attacks. I was getting really stressed even before it started. And I recognised I was really struggling with anxiety. I hadn't really recognised it before that. But once I put a name to it and went to the doctors, I was actually put on medication because I knew I needed to keep strong, because I could see he was just beginning to sort of spiral downwards even more. And actually, in many ways, the operation was just after many years of struggling with mental health. But again, we hadn't really realised it. So it just condensed it all into one period. And when he had to stop to have the surgery, it was like everything else then caught up with him. He had nowhere to hide. He had no distractions. He had nothing else to look at. And so for quite a long time, it was having to be the strong one, picking him up off the floor and loving him and trying in some way to be there for him.